Blessing, we're starting.
We're live.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the February 7th regular meeting of the Milford Inlands Wetlands Agency. I'm Brendan Magnan. Lisa, please call the roll. Maybe Mary Rose, I think Lisa needs help
Yep,
with.
I can call the roll.
Maybe just unmute Lisa. For some reason, she seems muted.
All right, so Rajit Bahav,
Hi.
Danielle Bedeker, Jim Connors,
Hi.
Matthew Connors, Brian Black,
Here.
Brendan Magnan,
Here.
Steve Munson, Julie Valvo,
Here.
Nicholas Ricci. I'm sorry, Ricci? Okay. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So we have Mr. Munson and Mr. Connors absent. Just as a reminder, as we continue to host remote meetings, please keep in mind that this meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube and will be made available on the City of Milford website in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act and Governor Lamont's executive orders. During the meeting, please raise your hand using the feature on Zoom to be recognized by the chair. That's me. Once recognized, for members of the public, please state your name and address prior to making a statement, and only speak to the purview of the Milford Inlands Wetlands Agency. Zoning issues are not under our purview. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to unmute themselves and join us by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
for which
and to the republic
For which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
nation,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
and
and
for all.
justice
for all.
for all.
Thanks, everybody. Is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak on on topics not otherwise on the agenda? Seeing none, moving on to old business. That's D1. That's 68 Surf Avenue. Mary Rose, could you just bring us up to speed on this matter?
Sure. This is item D1, IWC 230014, 68 Surf Avenue, and the City of Milford right-of-way for Willow Street. It's a violation that was issued on 12/28/23 for work in a wetland and 100-foot upland review area without permit at 68 Surf. At our last meeting, the agency required that I meet with Ms. McDonald and look at the property and see if there was a way to see what information she could bring forward to help to bring the work on the site into compliance. And so that brings us to this evening. I visited the site on the 22nd of February with Stephen Harris, our zoning enforcement officer. Those field notes are in the documents link. We met with Ms. McDonald, who walked us to the rear of the yard and showed us the various structures that are on the property. She stated that the garage existed when they purchased the home. The pool was permitted by zoning, but for some reason didn't get a wetlands permit. And they didn't know they needed permits there's a lean-to, a greenhouse, a tool shed, and some other sheds in the back of the property. We also had a Zoom call last Wednesday to review the possibility of what could maybe be applied for as an exemption under Section 4 of the agency regulations. They have some raised bed gardens in the rear of the property, and the agency could review and see if that's perhaps allowable under the farming exemption. The other structures, the sheds, the greenhouse, the pool, could also be considered a uses permitted as of right by the agency. You'd need a map to kind of review where they are in relation to the wetlands line. And Ms. McDonald has expressed concerns with the expense of such a map. I can show you pictures of that sidewalk if I can just.
Ma-
get to the
Mayor Rose,
screen.
just for only for the record, you did say you were there on the 22nd of February, but I believe you meant January.
I'm sorry. Yes, it was the 22nd of January,
Thank
and it
you.
was cold, if I remember correctly. Let's see if we can get to the screen. All right, so the screen you're looking at now, oops, if I move that, shows entry. You had seen this before where there was some boats and some other structures in the area. To reorient, the Willow Street right-of-way kind of runs from the bottom left corner of this picture, just off the corner of the garage out to the back. The marsh back here is Silver Sands State Park. Now we're in the rear of the yard facing up that right-of-way back towards Surf Avenue. And this is a little lean-to structure. I'm sorry, this is a little shed structure. This is on the right-hand side of the photo is a greenhouse structure. You can see the back of the lean-to with some storage and some canoes, kayaks. And there's another structure in here. Oops. Looking along in the rear of the property with Silver Sands to your right. These are some raised bed gardens. There's one immediately in the bottom left of the picture, one in the center, and there's one in a boat off here to the right. The pool, and again, the greenhouse structure. There's a deck associated with the pool. Looking up through the yard, the greenhouse structure towards some more gardens, raised gardens. There's some pathways, obviously, around the structures and the deck and the pool. Raised bed boat garden, deck, wood, and fence. And looking back from where you're standing in the earlier photo, the raised bed gardens along the rear of the property, the deck for the pool, and the greenhouse. And then looking up the opposite side of the property is a vinyl fence with wood storage for home use, and the pool in the center of the property, and a little bit of the garage and the shed and the lean-to. And then looking down that same side of the property, the pool, the wood, and some storage to the right. From an aerial view, if this helps you or not, this shows the structure, the garage, the shed, lean-to and storage. This is the pool. Here's the raised bed garden. That's a boat. These are the other raised beds, gardens, and the other shed. Miss McDonald also was kind enough to submit some pictures of the area in the summer. She had she'd been asked to maybe higher up if she had any pictures. We don't have any pictures of the yard showing that this area towards the back near the wetland is stable, and given the season, we won't really have those for several months. So I asked if she had any photos of the area stable, and now I am not seeing them. Let me stop the share for a second. And she was nice enough to submit them. I just need to find them in the order here. Does anyone have any questions as of yet?
What's your opinion, Mary Rose, on this?
I think the raised bed gardens could be considered a farming exemption under the uses permitted as a right. We don't know if they're in the wetland or adjacent. Under the farming exemption, that doesn't matter. But you can't bring in significant amounts of material and such into the wetlands. So it's a fine line, not knowing where the wetland line, whether it's allowable or not. Mr. Matthew Connors had a question about the paths that went around the back of the yard, and you know, if they were stable or not. Unfortunately, we don't have any pictures of that, but Ms. McDonald did submit pictures of just how well her husband's garden grows. So, you know, I think the area between, from the aerial, it looks like there may be a trail or a track around the back of the property. you know, you can see the paths that go by the garden because you need to access the garden. And Matt Connors had asked if this was stable or not. I can't tell that in the middle of winter. I'm assuming it was, but I don't know that.
Thank you,
By
Mary.
the pictures, it looks like it's an actual garden.
It looks like it's a very healthy garden.
Yes, that's what I was just going to acknowledge. What are your thoughts, Mr. Connors?
I think to let them have it.
Well, we're in
And
a,
she's been very cooperative through this whole process.
Oh, indeed, and I think we've been very sensitive to the
Yes, we have.
situation. Mary Rose, do you happen to have the regs in front of you? I was just looking for the farming statute and I couldn't place it.
I can pull that up. Just give me half a second.
I have it here, I just got to put my hands on it.
Yeah, the farming exemption is an interesting part of the statute because it doesn't page.
Do you remember what section that was?
Yes, it's section 4.
Or-
The farming exemption is a
Yeah.
long section with commas and ellipses, so it's hard to here we go.
Yeah, I've got it here.
I will share it on the screen in a moment. There's a number of things that are pertinent and then others that aren't. So we'll
Yeah.
start with what we can. There we go. Okay, so
Perfect.
uses that are allowable, all of the things in section 4 need to be applied for and granted by the agency. They can't just be assumed that they have a right to and done. So you have to look at it and approve it before it or to legalize it. Grazing, farming, nurseries, gardening, and harvesting of crops. Those pictures show obviously there's gardening and a harvesting of crops. And farm ponds of 3 acres or less, essential to the farming operation. And the essential to the farming operation is important for buildings, structures, roads, paths, access, and things like that that are built in the wetlands. It doesn't exempt them. Those kinds of things still need permitting. Operation activities conducted by under the authority of the DEP. Obviously, that doesn't fall out. So you're looking basically
It's a
at this
garden
first
part.
part.
Right.
And then the qualifier of the exemption is the second part. Provisions of this section shall not be construed to include road construction or the erection of buildings not directly related to the farming operation. You can't relocate water courses or fill or reclaim wetlands or water courses, except for the expansion of agricultural cropland. But then there's dispute of how you can do that because you have to put material in to make it a wetland. And cases go back and forth on that.
Right.
So I think the
you mind
raised
just
beds
going-
could qualify as
Just, can you scroll down to 4.1D,
D.
as in David?
This is uses essential to the enjoyment and maintenance of the residential. So this is where normally we see applications for sheds, decks, and pools. They're things incidental to the enjoyment of someone's property. And so it's to allow those uses within the wetland and upland review area, as long as they're not negatively impacting the wetland.
And I believe that's germane in this case because of the other property.
Right, and this is how we would look at the greenhouse, the pool, the little wood storage, and the tool shed.
So the
Because they're all
greenhouse
within.
goes along with the farming. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I said the greenhouse, in my opinion, goes along with the farming.
Mhm.
And, you know, if we're gonna allow those, let them have their pool. Like I said before, she's been very cooperative, she cleaned up a lot of stuff,
Right.
and we've had a lot of worse situations.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with this and with the notion of not mandating a map for the reason that it would be a moot point.
What about the permitting of the unpermitted structures, including the greenhouse and the pool and such? Is that something that we could go back to her and say that she needs to pull proactive permits? Is that within our purview to make such a statement or a request?
Right, there's two ways to go about that. To satisfy the violation, we can authorize those things, or we can have her come in and apply for them. You know, so we've quantified what they are and where they are, and she can sketch them just on a one of the city maps you just saw. And that would give the agency something to approve. So you can do it one of two ways. We can ask in this process, in the violation process, to show us a map of where these things are, you know, kind of sketch them out on the city GIS map, because that's kind of the best data we have on the site. And then the agency can approve them and clear the violation at the same time. The iffy thing about asking somebody to come and apply for a permit to satisfy a violation is once you issue a permit, they have 5 years to take it out and do it. So you never know if it actually gets done the way to satisfy the violation. You have 5 years. You've given them 5 years to complete the violation.
We're better off to go the other route.
Yeah, let me just, I'm sorry, Mr. Connors, but I need to recognize Mr. Ricci. Oh, Mr. Ricci, you're on mute.
Mary,
You're on mute again.
the boat garden, would that be considered a raised bed or more?
It acts like
Decoration.
it acts like a raised bed garden. You
Okay.
know, it's wood around, you know, with literal dirt in and plants growing out of. So
Thank you.
So Mary Rose, back to your two options. Which one would you recommend?
I would recommend, I can work with Miss McDonald, who is on the call, to use a city GIS map to sketch the locations of the various structures on the plant on a GIS. We won't know where the wetlands line is, but we can authorize, you'd be authorizing the work in or within 100 feet, because we don't know where the wetland line is. We're fairly certain the tidal wetland line is off the property, but we also don't know that.
Okay. Well, I'd entertain a motion to consider that action.
Okay, so you
We
would,
can make that motion.
okay, you'd be looking for the property owner by our next meeting, which I believe is the 21st. So
21st.
by the 19th, so you have it for the 21st meeting. Submit a map, plan or sketch showing the location of the improvements on the site.
I don't know how to raise my hand on this screen.
No problem. You can be, I recognize you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So with all due respect to the agency, at this point, I don't know what sketching a map would do. We've looked at an aerial photo. Mary Rose has taken extensive photos of my property. I have provided all information that I have. So I'm not sure what going on about this for another couple of weeks and drawing a sketch would accomplish. So I just wanted to state that. And again, there's no line to prove that any of these things are in violation. So I guess I'm appealing to, like, I would prefer the first option of not having to do all of that in light of all the information that's already been provided. I don't know what a map sketch would do at this point, and then having to come back to the meeting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. As the owner, though, we would expect that you would document where these elements are. That's what the sketch is intended to do. It's a mere documentation of the current conditions. It's not an onerous expectation. Mary Rose, do you want to add anything to that?
What that does is it legalizes the things that are there. So there's, the several items, are on the property and sketch here. This is what we have. We review it, we approve it. If you're going to do something else, you're going to change it, you're going to add another structure, whatever. You do another sketch, you come in and we review and approve that. The agency, to satisfy the violation, needs to know that this is what's there now in case other things show up in the future. They need to have an idea of where things are. Yes, we have photos that show it, but the plan documentation is what the city kind of runs on. We have little sketches of where things are.
Yeah,
on
and
the site.
I would just add that the alternative is we could refer the violation to the city attorney. I don't think that's the intent of this agency. I think we want to get this resolved. I think what we're asking and expecting is that there's a document on record as to what's permitted, and we're enabling you to do that through this process. So we have a statutory responsibility to, uphold the state law. So that's what you can hear from us, is we're applying it in your favor. So I'd like to get a second on the motion.
I'll second that motion for the documentation of the structures on the site.
Thank you, Mr. Black. And so any further discussion on the motion?
Can I ask another question? Just because I'm
Not at this point, just let's get through the motion. Sorry, but we're in the middle of a vote. So any further discussion from the agency? Hearing none, Lisa, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Nick Ritchie,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Ms. McDonald, did you have a question?
I'm just trying to understand the purpose of me sketching this map is so that you can approve structures. Is that I'm just
Yes.
trying to be
Yes.
super clear.
It's to enable you to comply with the law. The statute allows us to rule that this is a farming exemption. It's to document the structures that are in place so that it's permitted once and for all.
Okay.
And Mary Rose offered to assist. I don't think this is going to be a heavy lift on your part.
Okay. Again, I've never been through this process, so I'm just I don't know
I
what's
understand.
involved. I'm not a map maker,
Yeah,
So-
no, she's gonna help you. It's gonna be a fairly simple process for you.
Yeah,
If she
essentially,
has an as-built map of her lot and her house and garage,
no,
she
that
can
doesn't
measure it.
exist, Jim.
It doesn't exist. Oh,
No.
okay. I won't go there.
The Miss McDonald, basically it's you have a sketch. You can work off the city GIS, and then you just know the dimensions of the various structures and where they are on the property. So you know where the garage is, right? So the other shed is adjacent to the garage, and the next one's adjacent to that. So it's sketching them on the parcel. You may be able to use the sketch that was used for the pool to get the pool permit and add the things to that.
okay.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to the next agenda item. Mary Rose, can you introduce that E1, please?
Sure, let me stop the share. Or actually change the share, I apologize.
So I can hang up now? I'm okay, so Mary Rose will be in touch about this map?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. As soon as I can find this document that seems to be eluding me. There we go. Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is E1. It's IW 240003. It's 50 Bolt Lane. It's an application by Patrick Oxer for a 24 by 24 prefabricated garage and asphalt driveway extension that's within 150 feet of inland wetlands in the Wepwag River watershed. Mr. Oxer has submitted a soil report by Soil Science and Environmental Services and a survey with a proposed garage location by Andrew Flanagan, both of which are in the document links along with the photos of the site. The map we're showing now shows you the proposed location. I'm sorry, this is a former cul-de-sac. It's cul-de-sac. We've got the driveway comes up here. Down here is the existing home. This hatched area is the proposed asphalt driveway area. And this is the proposed 24 by 24 shed. Over here, we have a swing set on the property. And up front, we have an existing shed. Soil Science Environmental Services has demarcated this line, and Mr. Flanagan surveyed it in of the wetlands located on the site. They have an inaccurate, the upland review area is 150 feet, not 50 feet. So that gives you kind of an overlay of where the property is. Site photos show the proposed location. Let me find those. The site photos show the proposed location of the shed. This is the rear of 50 Bolt Lane. This is the home. This is the proposed expansion of the driveway area. And this is where the proposed shed, garage would be. And here's the play yard. You can see the shed off in the distance. And this wood chipped area adjacent to the woods is the approximate wetland line. Moving a little closer, you've got the end of the slide. Again, the shed and some wood chipped area, which is the wetland line. Speaking to Mr. Oxer, he had a few trees come down. A friend chipped them for him and blew the chips into the wetland. The agency may or may not want to address that at this time. Walking a little closer to the wetland area, this is where the chips are. This is the edge of the shed. The wetland line's probably roughly in this area if you're looking back at the map. And it's just another view of a similar thing. Got the swing set, the wood chips, the shed, and the existing driveway. And not a perfect shot. The proposed garage would be over here to the right next to this tree between the swing set and the house with the extended driveway in this area connecting to the existing drive. For an overview, this is the property. The wetlands are in this general area. In the front, the wooded area, the driveway comes in off of Bolt Lane. And you've got the home swing set. You can just see the edges of the slides over here. So the proposed garage would go in this area, and this would be an expansion of the driveway. Here's the shed, and this is the yard area.
Mary
The
Rose, do you
garage.
see any problem?
I'm sorry, Mr. Connors, I haven't recognized you yet.
Oh,
Mary
sorry.
Rose, Mary Rose,
The
let me
the
know.
proposed
Okay.
garage is 64 feet from the wetland. The asphalt drive's about 31 feet from the wetland line. And the shallow fill that's over the wetland appears to be the wood chips that were broadcast from the trees. Mr. Oxer is here this evening to answer questions for the agency. I told him the agency may want to address the potential fill situation at the same time as the garage.
Anything further, Mary Rose?
No.
Mr. Oxer, do you want to add anything to the record before we ask questions?
No.
Okay. And you are the owner of the property?
Yes.
And just for the record, state your name and address then.
Yes. It's 50 Bolt Lane, Milford, Connecticut.
Okay. Mr. Connors, did you have a question for Mary
Just
Rose?
asking Mary Rose if she had any problems with this, because otherwise I don't see too much of an issue.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. No, I don't have any real issues. I don't think the garage itself is, or the asphalt expansion of the driveway is going to negatively impact the wetland. Only concern is during construction, if any more material is going to migrate into the wetland. So we need to make sure no more filling happens in the wetland. And then the agency needs to weigh whether they want to have the wood chips pulled forward and out of the wetland proper. And if you want any plants put in to try to demarcate where the wetland line is so that it's found in the future. This is also an application, so the decision won't be made this evening. You have a 14-day hold period under the statute.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mary Rose. Has there been any interest in this application?
No, there has not.
Speaking on behalf of Mr. Munson. If you can just go to the overview picture, please. I just want to ask a question.
This one?
Yeah. What's the approximate distance from the proposed driveway expansion in the wetlands?
It's about 31 feet. So
Okay.
if we look at this, no, not that document. Hold on. If you look at the corner, which is closest to the shed, was what I had measured was 31 feet. So if we go here. So that, where the X is on the screen, is roughly 31 feet to the wetland. So roughly the corner of that existing tree.
Thank you. Mr. Black, you have a question.
Yeah, is there a construction and waste control plan in place, something to prevent any debris or construction materials from seeping into the wetlands?
Great question.
There's no erosion control shown on the plan. We can require, either we can require them or we can ask that they be shown on the plan. For a job like this, I think a simple line of silt fence or core fiber log, roughly from this area here, before the driveway and the new asphalt drive, over to just around the swing set, should prevent any material from going into the wetland. Should this be constructed in the spring, we get some heavy rains. If this is open, we could have soil and material migrate into the wetlands. So having erosion controls is an appropriate thing.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Thanks for the great question, Mr. Black. Mr. Bedeker, do you have a question?
Commissioner Bedeker, to Mary Rose or the owner, is this like a standalone wetlands, or is there some kind of water source, intermittent or not, in the area?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This wetland kind of goes underneath the expansion of Bolt Lane to this area. And if you can see very lightly on the screen, there's this haze blue. It's not very light. It's not very dark, sorry. So, this is a Flax Mill Brook, which runs into the Wetland River. So it feeds into a larger, fairly higher order stream, comes down this hill, bleeds across the road down the hill into this wetland area here, and then heads out here, and the Wetland River is right over here. So it comes over this way, goes under Flax Mill, and heads into the Wetland.
Got it. Thanks.
Very good question. Thank you, Mary Rose. Mr. Ritchie, you have a question?
Mary Rose, just looking at the plan, does the elevation and pitch of the driveway, is that gonna cause any wetland intrusion from ground, water from the driveway or cars or oils or anything like that?
Not
If it's
fairly
pitched?
gentle grade here. You can also see that from the photos, but this is elevation 96 and you go all the way over here to 95. So, wrong screen for that, but you almost have, if this is 31 feet, you get 26, 27 feet, to drop a foot. So it's fairly flat. And I think we can see that from the photos that the yard is fairly flat in that
Okay.
area.
All right, thank you.
That's not to say it won't migrate. With the heavy rain, things can migrate off the driveway.
We'll have a follow-on question on a similar line of inquiry to the owner, Mr. Oxer. Is the intention to put a garage at at the level of the ground level, or is there any kind of platform that you're going to be putting it on, or?
Just a concrete slab.
Okay. Do you already, I don't think we saw in the plans any kind of erosion control. Is that true? You don't currently have any erosion control plans?
No.
Okay. If we were to approve this, that would be a condition of approval. I believe if, just only to clarify the protocol, Mayor Rose, would we need the plans to reflect that before we were to approve it?
Technically, yes, we should. I think it can be something that either Mr. Oxer can draw on, or he can have Mr. Flanagan draw on. It would be a simple silt fence line, curving an arc around the work area. And that silt fence hay bale core fiber log would stay in place until the exposed soils paved over and stabilized, and to ensure that any excavated material to create the driveway isn't spread into the wetland area.
Right. So, Mr. Oxer, I think it's incumbent upon you to come back to us with a revised plan.
Okay.
We're not going to take any action tonight, but we're indicating to you that it's likely that we would contemplate an approval. But that approval would only be granted with that plan being marked as described. And it would only serve your interest to not delay your process in any way by presenting a revised plan before the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Through you, Mr. Chair, does the agency have any concerns about the
Yes, that's where I was going to go next, Mayor Rose.
hold on a second, let me pull this map up for you. Sorry for the eye scroll. This is the field map from the soil scientist, and this is the line they described of where the wetland is, and that's what's roughly put in, they see in the field, and then these numbers, the flag numbers, are picked up and put on the plan that you saw from Mr. Flanagan. So in this area here, which you also saw in the pictures, there's just an area with wood chips and things that were broadcast. They had a couple of trees fall down. Friend took them down for him and just blew the chips into the wetland. Mr. Oxer expressed that he didn't have knowledge that that wasn't something that could be done. And yeah. So does the agency want these raked out? Do you want to put plantings in there? What's your preference? Do you want something from Ms. Benno? What do you want to do?
Mr. Bedeker, do you want to respond to that, or do you have a question? You're on mute.
Yeah, I had a question for Mr. Oxner. How long ago did those trees come down and the wood chips get spread there?
About 3 years ago.
Okay. I has there been a significant, I guess, a reduction of the amount of wood chips, or as they start disintegrating and just turning into organic matter, or over that time?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
no problem.
That's a great question. I believe given the length of time that they've been there, there's probably no benefit by removing them. I mean, Mayor Rose, I sort of defer to your expertise.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 years is when most of the tannins are going to come out, which may or may not have a negative impact on the surrounding plants. And now it's just acting as kind of a compost. It will continually slowly break down over time. We just want to ensure that no further materials put in that area.
Yeah, I believe there should be some simple markings, where the wetland flags are. There, as a condition of approval, we should mandate that signage is placed on the perimeter of the wetlands.
Okay.
So that's, Mr. Oxer, that's something we do as a typical standard best practice. So we're not sort of isolating this to you. You're not being treated differently than any other homeowner who has wetlands on the property.
Okay.
It's just one more layer of protection to ensure that those are preserved with no, dumping and no intrusion, etc.
We had everything flagged. There are flags out there, like pink flags. I don't know if that's
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, these are more signage
okay.
indicate that there's wetlands there and that those wetlands are not to be disturbed.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Oxer, we have 4-inch discs that are white that say, Milford in the wetlands boundary, that you can purchase in the office, and you can use
Okay.
those to put them on stakes around the wetland. They can line up with where your flags are. Over
Okay.
time, oddly enough, the deer eat the flags and you'll lose them. You've paid for the marking of that line. You have it on a plan, but you won't be able to find it in the field on your property without
Okay.
some kind of marking.
Okay.
So a simple stake with the marker on it would suffice.
Okay. Now, Mary Rose, would you be able to help me tell Flanagan about just mapping out whatever we have to do to update the map?
Certainly, yeah. What I'll do is the next couple of days we'll get a letter together with you, and I can talk with you, and I can talk to Andy to
Okay.
get that updated.
Okay. Okay.
Great, thanks for coming before us. I don't know if there's any other questions or any other sort of expectations that we want to share with the applicant. I think we've covered our bases. The only other random, not really random, but sort of may seem like an odd question, but you have no intended storage of any oils or any contaminants or anything like this in your garage, correct?
No.
Just through you, Mr. Chair, just a clarification for Mr. Oxford. Usually close to a wetland, we'll ask that in your shed or your garage, when we approve it, that you any oils or chemicals that would go with the snow blower and the lawnmower and things would be put in like a plastic or Rubbermaid tub that's larger than the gas can, so that if it does begin to leak, you capture the chemical before it can leach out into the wetland, into the soil.
Okay.
And it makes a whole lot easier for you to clean it up.
No problem.
Great. Thank you very much for coming before us. So I think you've got some guidance from us, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. I believe it's the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the January 7th meeting minutes?
I'll second.
That was a motion from Mr. Connors and second
Yes.
from Salvo. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Lisa, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Nick Ritchie,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Mag.
Aye. Okay, Mary Rose, staff report.
Righty. We have just a shortened staff report. We have now put the commissioner synopsis, thank you everyone for responding to me, up on the city webpage, so you can click on that, or potential applicants or attorneys can see what everybody's level of expertise is and where their backgrounds are, so they understand that if you're an engineer and you're asking them engineering questions, you have some understanding of what that is. If everybody's been getting email, it's fine. Make sure we have your correct email and phone numbers if anything changes, so that we can get a hold of you if anything changes for a meeting. And as we discussed earlier, if you'd like a paper set of plans for all applications or large applications, or if you get an agenda on a Thursday and you look at the plans, you're like, I can't see this. If you let us know, we'll get you a set of plans for the meeting. And as always, the links to the training and commissioner are on the commissioner's page and on my draft notes. And then just an update on what we've been doing. We've been working on the annual FEMA Community Rating System Report and the MS4 submissions. Those are annual things due in February and March for the city. And keeping the hazard mitigation action tracker updated for our hazard mitigation plan. And that's an annual event that we do that twice a year to make sure that we're up to date for FEMA. We continue to answer questions and inquiries, minor reviews, submit reports to other departments as we're required, and we get our applications digitally through the City Squared and Municity system. Mr. Chair, do you want me to go through the entire report, or are we good
I don't
with the
think
draft?
it's necessary unless there are questions from the commissioners. Okay, thank you, Mary Rose, for your continued support there and for these applications. Chair's report, next meeting is February 21st via Zoom. Please be sure to let the office know if you're unable to attend, ideally with as much notice as possible, so we can ensure a quorum. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
The motion, Brendan.
Motion's made. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Lisa, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Nick Ritchie,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good
Aye.
evening, everybody.
Have a good
Good
evening.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
We're all done blessing.